Hey, what's going on, everybody? In this video, we're going to be doing my May TBR, and before we go over to the shelf, the first 8 books that I'm going to be showing you are going to be the 8 books I'm going to try and read for the One Readathon to rule them all. And so I'm probably not going to go into too much detail on each of those books, as I already have a video on that Readathon TBR, basically. I'll leave that link down below if you are interested in reading or listening to why I picked certain books for all these challenges and that sort of thing. But yeah, so that's about half the month's worth of books, and for the other half, I probably won't read any more fantasy because that would be hopefully 8 fantasy books. So we're gonna do probably another handful of nonfiction books for the second half of the month. So let's get started. Alright, so let's start with the 8 fantasy books for the One Readathon to rule them all. For a book less than 300 pages, I picked The Riddle Master of Head. For a book over 1,000 pages, I picked The Way of Kings. For a standalone, I picked Conan the Rebel. For a book by a non-English speaking author, I picked The Last Wish. For a non-European setting book, I picked The Six Gun Tarot, which is a American Western fantasy. I'm going to listen to the audiobook version of Anansi Boys for the requirement of a book with a person of color main character. And on the way is A Grace of Kings by Ken Liu for the requirement of to read a fantasy book by an author of a person of color. And lastly, I'm going to read the second book in the Shadow Campaigns, The Shadow Throne by Django Wexler, for the requirement of read a book with an LGBTQ plus character. For a very short introduction book that I want to try and read one of each month, I'm going to go with Geography, and this is one of the ones I got where I got, I think, 11 of them for $5. So I want to try and get through some of those. And obviously, Geography is a good auxiliary subject to history, so I'm going to check this one out. For one of my Osprey Publishing books, I'm going to read The Norman Knight, and this is the first one in the Warrior series, and I'm going to try and read some medieval history, because I've sort of put that one off a little bit, and I finished a book on William Marshall not too long ago, and that's kind of got me interested in medieval studies right now, so I'll probably pick some medieval books. For another medieval book, I'm going to go with Medieval Sieges and Siegecraft by Geoffrey Hindley. And this is a book I've had for a while, but I just haven't read it yet. And I'm not really sure why, because it's not very long. But it's an interesting subject, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy the content. So that's going to be the next medieval book I'm going to read. Of course, I can't seem to go a month without reading something on Roman history. And I think last month, or maybe the month before, I picked up Rome's Last Citizen, The Life and Legacy of Cato, Mortal Enemy of Caesar, by Rob Goodman and Jimmy Soni. And I just figure I've done a lot of books already on the fall of the Roman Republic, basically. I've read The Death of Caesar and a book on Cicero, and I figured this would be another book in that same topic, and get another perspective on that era. For another Roman history book, I'm going to try writing some more history articles for my website. And I've been doing the First Punic War. And I know, obviously, Hannibal was from the Second Punic War, but I'm going to start reading a bunch of books on all 3 of the Punic Wars, or books that cover, the Punic Wars in general. And this was a book I got in February, and I've just been really looking forward to reading it, as I've never read just an actual biography of Hannibal before. And so, yeah, definitely going to look forward to this one. And lastly, as I've been reading a lot of books on World War I, and I'm trying to read maybe one a month if I can, I'm going to try and squeeze in Rites of Spring by Modris Ecksteins. This is, I believe, a book, I'm not still 100% sure really what it's about, but I think it's about sort of how World War I, the transition of culture and society from before the war, how it changed during the war, and how it was completely different after the war. And I think this is both like high culture and pop culture, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I'm really interested in seeing what this book is all about. But this will probably be the last book if I can get to it. If not, it will end up being on June. But anyways, hopefully I can fit all these in. But yeah, I'm definitely going to try and read the 8 books for the One Readathon to rule them all, and hopefully I'll still have some energy left over at the end of the month to get some history in there as well. And always remember, read victoriously.